What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a Boilermaker Beatdown edition of the Coach and the Couch Potato. As always, I'm Jeremy the Couch Potato. Opposite side of the screen, we got Coach Slate. We're going to go over all things OSU Purdue, and then we have more booms as we discussed. We'll give a quick synopsis of those guys because there is a recruiting chips episode on deck later this week, because this weekend is going to be massive. Rather mundane 34-10 Buckeye win. Purdue with the late garbage time touchdown to take away the cover for those of you that do gambling things. I don't really know. We were talking before we came on. There was a lot of good to come out of this game. I guess very first impression of the way the game went.
Yeah, man. Listen, I obviously 34-10. Never going to complain about that. You hear the word, business trip. I thought the Buckeyes came in with with full intention of establishing the run game first. You and I both know going to West Lafayette is not an easy thing to do.
No.
We've seen some crazy things happen there. The field always sucks. Like the conditions of that field are always terrible.
Well,
It's just some crazy things happen there. And so the first impressions for me were let's get in, let's get out with a win. Let's just make sure we do that, number one. And I felt like the Buckeyes did that. 500 total yards almost. We took care of business. We did what we had to do, and that was it. Was it the cleanest game? No. Was it a perfect game? No. But I do think the Buckeyes dominated, and I was just really happy to see that there were a lot of guys that got reps. I think at this point of the season, you need to see the depth that we have, and I was very happy to see a lot of guys get reps. And so, first impressions, business trip, took care of business, get out of there, get out of West Lafayette with the W. The Buckeyes did that.
yeah, so a couple things you hit on. 473 yards of offense. Only gave up 186, which obviously Purdue offensively, we knew going in that Purdue didn't have the horses to bang with the Buckeyes. And it showed. I mean, it was just a totally different. It was, Jimmy's and Joe's. I guess that's really the easiest way to put it. The Buckeyes, we've talked about pace these last couple weeks. Season high 78 snaps on offense. Now, some of that was just because the lack of efficiency Purdue was having on offense, because the defense only played 47 snaps. So even given that 47 snap number, you did see some guys getting more reps, like you talked. Were they meaningful? Not really in certain circumstances, but it's still reps. You saw Leroy Roker get burnt on the late touchdown. Dude just ran a great route, but that's what getting reps does. The run game, you called it last week. You said, I think they run for 160, and they ran for 170.
Yeah.
I got a text right after the game when the numbers came out, and they're like, "Wow, I think I heard that this week." I was like, Slate knows ball. But I think we'll dive into the run game. I think this was one of those games, because of the talent discrepancy, that Ohio State was going to force the run no matter what.
Yeah.
I think they won. But the run game, if you look at the numbers, it is slowly creeping up better. Not necessarily total yardage, and I don't care about total yardage at this point in the season. I want to know we can run the ball if we have to.
Yep.
Except I don't want them to force it when they don't have to. But Bo Jackson, 5.4 yards a carry. Isaiah West, 6.7. And that was with a new right tackle.
Yep.
You had Ian Moore starting in place of Phillip Daniels. And you had, as we've made no bones about, even though we don't like to single out players per se, but you had your weakest of your starting, we'll call it 6, because Padilla is basically playing, that type of snaps now. with Tegra. And again, Tegra looked rough again.
Yeah.
But first play of the game, we go to the right side, trying to build that confidence, show those guys that the coaches have faith.
Yeah.
And Bo Jackson springs a 70-yard touchdown that's called back.
Yeah. Yeah. Excuse me. I think the running game is steadily getting better. Is it perfect? No. Is it a dominant running game? No. But I think we need to, like you said, be able to run the ball when we have to. Can we have a sustained drive at the end of the game to close the game out against Michigan? Can we do that? Are we able to do what we did last year against Penn State to close that game out? That is where we have to get to. I think the Buckeyes are creeping to that. Are we going to be a team that rushes for 200 yards? No, I don't think that is where this offense is going to get to. I don't think that is where, gosh, sorry. I don't think that's where Ryan Day is going to ever be with this offense because of the
Right.
quarterback play that we have and the receivers that we have. I think we're going to be in that 150 to 170 range, and that's okay, right? I think that's where we max out, and that is perfectly fine. I think if we can continue to get between 4 and 4.5 yards per carry, and then we can just grind it out, and Bo Jackson and Isaiah West and CJ Donaldson in the red zone, those three guys, if they can continue to develop in their roles, I think this run game is going to steadily improve. And then, the final week of the season, we will be hitting our stride. That is one thing I'm very happy to see is that the roles are starting to get defined. I think Bo Jackson, by it's no doubt he's clear number one. I think Isaiah West, you and I said this when he got recruited, very under recruited kid. I don't know if he didn't camp a lot or whatever, but he is clearly the number two back, and CJ Donaldson is a short yardage red zone back, and those are the three. I think James Peoples is coming along and he's running better, but I think when the game matters and it's on the line, those top three guys are the three guys that are going to be getting the football, and I am perfectly fine with that, and those are the three that we roll with, and I'm happy with that. I do think we need to make sure that we continue to throw to set up the run because that is where our offense is. I think with our receivers, obviously with JJ and Carnell, with Sprinkle and Max Clare and Brandon Ennis is starting to come into his own a little bit. Our passing offense with Julian Sane is just it is elite. And so I think that is our identity. But I'm happy to see we have two top running backs right now that are physical, that are not afraid of contact. And now we just need to get better making that first guy miss. And then once we reach that level, our run game is going to be something that is going to be able to take us to that next level. Because I don't even think we've reached it yet. And that's the one thing that's scary about this offense.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we've reached that next level yet.
Yeah, and I think we saw it with Bo Jackson even on that 70-yard touchdown run. And this is where I think there's still that role for James Peoples. I don't think Bo Jackson or Isaiah West are home run hitters. I think they are, we're going to average 4 or 5 yards a carry, but we're going to be able to give you a 10, 20, 30, 40-yarder. That breakaway speed just doesn't seem like it's there on either one of those guys. Excuse me. But I think that, Peoples still has just that little bit of extra. We started to see CJ Donaldson run better in the short yardage. We saw Lincoln Keenholt's package in the short yardage. I think, like you said, we're now to that point of the year where you're starting to see tinkering and what can we do to be better and get the run game to where if we need that drive, like you said, that Penn State drive of last year, that it's there. Ideally, you're not going to need it against Michigan, but we know better than to think that we're going to just be able to go in there and do what we want to for 60 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's just it. They're going to be physical up front. We've got to be able to run the ball. We know that. But, in an ideal world, we don't need it. The big thing is in that game, we don't just go ahead and just say, hey, we're going to run the ball 60 times
Right.
and we're going to try to out physical and we got to play to our strengths. But, the run game is still developing. And I think, I think we took a step forward. I don't care what the opponent is. Anytime you can rush for 170 yards, you'll take that.
I would much rather throw the ball against them for 60 times than run the ball 60 times.
Yeah.
Because if we're throwing the ball 60 times against Michigan, it's Ryan Day coming out to say, not this year. Because I think if we throw the ball on them that much, we win big.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for 3 weeks from now. Couple dudes you hit on that I actually had written down. Brandon Ennis. 3 grabs, 20-some yards. Another decent punt return. I feel like we are this close to a Brandon Ennis breakout game.
Yeah. You know how I feel about Brandon Ennis, man. That's my guy. He's just he is just tough, man. He is tough. He was, picked as a captain for a reason. He embodies what it means to be a Buckeye. He's just waiting his turn. I think one of he like you said, his breakout game is coming soon. Obviously with Carnell Tate not playing this Saturday, we don't know how serious that injury, could be, set out for precautionary reasons. So it's going to be out for multiple weeks. We don't know any of that stuff. And so he's going to have to step up for us in a major way. But I think in one of these games, JJ's not going to have his A game. Carnell's going to be taken away. And BI is going to have to step up and be that guy for us. And I think him and Max Clare are more than capable of being that guy for us. And so he's right there, like you said, man. And I can't wait for when that happens so he can just remind people like, hey, some of you guys have wrote me off. Here's just a reminder. I was a 5-star. I'm one of the toughest dudes on the team. They voted me captain for a reason. This is just a little subtle reminder of why that happened. So I can't wait for when that day comes because he deserves it, man. He's a stud.
Yeah, and I think this might have been Max Clare's best game.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Five catches, I think, 57, 58 yards. Fell down on what would have probably been a tutty.
Yeah.
But I'm also interested to see, as we are seeing this evolution of Max Clare, that's a dude who there's a chance comes back next year.
Yeah, he might.
And if you add him back again, look out. And as far as the tight end goes, we saw Jelani get a catch. I don't ever want to see Nate Roberts carry the football again. Not at this point. Let me rephrase that. Because we saw it, like, with Patrick Gerd by year 4 or 5. I can't remember if he took a 5th year. Gerd had that rolled down perfectly.
Yeah.
And Nate Roberts does a lot of the parts of that well. But you got to remember, this is a kid who's used to playing tight end and was a good tight end on his team. So he was also a pass catcher at that point.
Yeah.
We saw him, get tripped up by the turf monster. We saw him. When he's running the ball, he's just so upright. There's no leverage at all. I'll be interested to see, though, if they continue. Obviously, they're going to continue to roll with it because we don't have a fullback on the roster.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to continue to roll with it. Listen, he's gotten better each week in that role. The one thing that's going to happen is he's going to turn on that film. The Coach Key and Coach Hinton are going to sit in the film room and they're going to be like, listen, man, if we give you the ball again in this situation, you cannot run like this. And it's never going to happen again. Like, he is going to get that rock and he's going to be running full steam. Even if he only gets a yard, it's going to be, in a blaze of glory. I guarantee you, he's going to be running full steam ahead. And so, he's going to continue to develop in that role. I think he's done fine. The thing about it is, too, he is a passing threat in that situation as well. You saw him catch a pass out of the backfield. He also fell down, which he probably would have had a big gain, probably a touchdown in that situation, but he fell down as well. And so that is something that he does bring in that fullback role when he comes in. And so, listen, these young kids, get him out there, find a role for him, and I think he can do that. And so we'll see. I do think Will Kazmarek could do that as well, but obviously they like having him in some other roles as well. So, but Nate Roberts, yeah, you gotta get that pad level a little lower, man.
Will Kazmarek is going to be another Luke Farrell
Yeah,
in the NFL. He is
yeah,
going to make himself some money. He's going to get drafted in the mid rounds, and they're like, "Oh, he's a blocker," and then he's going to go get paid.
yeah.
Um, he's not an overly athletic dude, but he's going to make some money.
Yeah.
Speaking of Buckeye tight ends, I have to give a shout out to probably my all-time favorite tight end, Jeremy Ruckert. Shows up yesterday wearing the Nick Mangold jersey to play the Browns.
Pretty cool.
In a game I fully anticipated the Browns would lose, and they found the most Browns way to lose it.
Yep.
There's a lot of Browns fans clamoring for Jeremiah Smith in 27. Please, for the love of God, keep Jeremiah Smith away from Cleveland. Please, for the love of God, keep Carnell Tate away from Cleveland. They, at this point, as long as Jim Haslam owns the team, they don't deserve nice things. If I'm Myles Garrett, I tell them I want traded again. Rant over. Julian saying continues to do Heisman Trophy winning things, contrary to what Gus Johnson wants you to believe. Gus wants you to believe that the Heisman Trophy belongs in Bloomington, Indiana, because a guy who played his worst game of the season, probably, his receiver bailed him out, and the Penn State DB didn't push him far enough out of bounds. Julian saying is 27-33, 303 yards, 1 touchdown, and a really bad pick. Probably one of the 2 worst throws he's had all year. The other one was also a pick in the red zone. I don't know if he thinks the velocity is going to clear the defender. For a dude that has seemingly such a good pulse of the game, what a terrible throw. Like, what do you think he saw there or didn't see?
Yeah, I don't know if he saw him. There's no explanation for me. I don't know if he saw him, because if he sees him, I think he puts more air on that ball. But
Right.
even if I mean, JJ was covered anyway. Like, I don't, I get, Kyler Murray when he was saying, D-hop down there somewhere. Like, I get that, I'm going to just throw it to Jeremiah. He'll probably make a play. I understand that. But I just don't think he saw the defender in that situation. But it's hard. You don't throw the ball back across the body. That's just one thing you don't do, especially in that situation. But he did. He's still young. He's only a redshirt freshman. He's still learning. And so he will learn from that situation. Coach Day probably gave him an earful when he came back to the sideline. But Julian he's still playing at a very elite level. The deep ball to JJ was so precise. It was just right in the breadbasket. There wasn't really anywhere else he could throw that. That was just a great throw, perfect throw. His footwork in the pocket is great. He's just really doing a great job of managing the game, number one, and number two, just being so accurate, putting the ball in the perfect places on a consistent basis. And then when he needs to push the ball down the field, he's able to go and do that. And so I'm very pleased with how he's playing, and I hope that continues, man, because he is I think he's the best quarterback in the country right now. And one quick thing on Mendoza, I'm not hating on the guy. I think Mendoza is a stud. I think he is a dog. And that last drive was really impressive against Penn State, no doubt about it. Julian saying dotted that same team up and only had 3 incompletions. And so, like, that's for people to say, like, that's Mendoza's Heisman moment. I get it was a beautiful drive, but I cannot give Mendoza a Heisman moment against a team that Julian saying only had 3 incompletions against. I just can't. It just doesn't add up to me. And I'm trying not to be a homer, but it just doesn't add up to me.
Well, he threw for 200 and I forget, 213, 218, um, and 87 of his yards were on that drive.
Yeah.
So yes, it was a phenomenal drive. Yeah, 19 of 30, 218 yards, one touchdown, one pick, and a rushing touchdown. 87 of the 218 were on one drive. Where because they got a sack on first down, your boy Jimmy Genius Knowles didn't change his pressure up and just blitzed them the same way for the entire way. Well, Mendoza's too good for that. Mendoza is really, really good. But if you pressure Mendoza, he looks human. But you have to change it up. You can't just do the same blitz every time. I mean, obviously, I think Sayin and Mendoza are 1-2 for the Heisman. You know, we talk about culture, and so we'll go off on a little bit of a tangent. At Ohio State. Ohio State started Heisman campaigns for Julian and JJ both. After the game on Saturday, JJ's asked, "Do you think you should win the Heisman Trophy?" "Nah, man, that's Julian Sayian's trophy." Julian Sayian's asked, "Do you think you should win the Heisman Trophy?" "Nah, man, that's JJ's trophy."
Yeah.
You can't teach that.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I think that's pretty cool. Like, you know, obviously JJ knows, like, I'm not in this position if I don't have Julian throwing me the ball, and Julian knows I'm not in this position if I don't have JJ and Carnell, right? And so, like, it's, you know, you've got to support each other, and I think that's the brotherhood. I think that's so important for people to understand, and I think it's great, and to me, it's a great recruiting pitch. You know, I think it shows like this is the brotherhood is real. And I know, like, they on social media, they're sharing each other's, Heisman posts or Ohio State's Heisman posts about each other. And so I just think it's pretty cool, man. I think it's a good message for young people to see, like, this is how you support your teammate. Especially when they're up for the same award potentially. And so, I love seeing that stuff, man. It's a good show for young athletes out there.
Yeah, and you hit on when we were talking about the interception that JJ was covered, but there's a reason Julian was trying to get it to him. 10 for 10 targets, 10 receptions, 137 yards, a touchdown, another circus catch where he was being drugged to the ground and batted the ball to himself. I mean, it's really fitting that Kyler Murray, the guy who ended up with Marvin Harrison Jr. and wouldn't throw him the ball, says D-Hop down there somewhere.
Yeah.
Just wild, but Jeremiah Smith, man, an absolute freak. There's nothing else we can even say about it at this point. Like, I'm pretty sure that Jeremiah Smith is actually who Lil Wayne was talking about when he said, "We are not the same, I am a Martian." So, the Cardell Tate thing, we kind of hit on that. Said he felt tight in warm-ups. It was cold. We didn't have the weather that Iowa and Oregon had. But the last time an Ohio State player said they could feel their body being tight was Seth McLaughlin, and he tore his Achilles. Great call on Ohio State to set him out. Tywan Malone didn't play. We haven't heard anything there yet. Hopefully Coach Day says something about it at the presser this week so we can chime in with that. But then, you saw Edric Houston back in the starting lineup. Played well. Caden McDonald played a season low, but won defensive player of the game because he was just wrecking things. The only other thing that jumped out to me defensively, as far as, playing stuff goes, Zion Grady got more snaps than Bo Atkinson for the first time all year. And I don't know what made me think of this, but I wouldn't be surprised if come playoff time, if we don't see CJ Hicks on the field again because it doesn't count against the red shirt. But, what did you see defensively? Obviously a game in which, your opponent was very, very much overmatched, but again, a lot of good.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of good, man. I think obviously we got the turnover with Jermaine, the interception. I thought that was a great play. The one thing I didn't like, I don't want to say I didn't like, but I think Ryan Brown, I think his athleticism was super underestimated. Coach Patricia, came out and openly said that he was a really good runner. That was one thing that was underestimated, and so we had a spy on him a lot during the game. I didn't like the way we rushed the passer. I could definitely tell that they were trying to contain him a little bit. I would have liked to see Kenyatta and Caden Curry get after him a little bit more.
Yeah.
But that's was probably part of the game plan with the way they were rushing the passer a little bit. But overall, I thought the defense played well. I can't, it's hard to nitpick this defense, man, because they do so many good things. And they were playing a lot of different guys. You saw a ton of rotation up front. You saw Riley Pettijohn get in there in the first series. You saw Devin Sanchez rotate in early. It's like there was a lot of people that were playing. And so the one thing I will take away from the defense is you're growing that depth. And you can never complain about that, man. Like I love seeing these young linebackers get in because that, number one, that's a future. And number two, like all these kids are one play away. Like they're one play away. And we know how important, if we want to make a run to truly defend the national championship, these guys are one play away. So it's important that Will Smith gets a crap ton of reps. All the defensive ends, Zion Grady's like you were talking about, Bo Atkinson getting those reps as well. And so I was very happy to see that. I would have liked the second group to play a little different. I was listening to Zach Bourne this morning. The standard is a standard when that second group is in. So I would like to have seen them play a little better and execute at a little higher level. You don't like to see that big of a drop off when the second group comes in. It should have been 34-3. But nonetheless, defense still played really well. But I would like to have seen the pressure on the quarterback be a little bit more. But again, it's hard to nitpick this defense, man, because it's the best in the country.
So you brought up something as far as that drop off to the second group. And it's commonplace, no matter what level of ball, that when your second group goes in, at that point, you are just trying to get through the game. But you don't call the second group the same as you call the first either. You're running a lot of zone. You're not running a lot of true pass pressure. So some of that does fall to strategy, but at what's the line? Because obviously, your opponent's also trying to just get out healthy at that point, but nobody wants to see them celebrating that touchdown the way they did either.
Yeah. I mean, and it comes back to how you structure practice. I'm not there to know how they structure things with the twos. I don't know how many reps they get. But I can almost assure you that they are still expected to know what the entire game plan is.
Right.
And your life is football 24/7 pretty much, right? And so Coach Patricia should be able to call anything on that call sheet, right? And the kids should know it. Because Aaron Scott is truly one play away. Like Riley Pettijohn, like Garrett Stover, like these guys are legitimately one play away. So these guys have to know the entire game plan. So when Coach Patricia's looking at that call sheet, he needs to know that these twos know everything on there. And so he should feel comfortable calling everything. Now, does he call everything? Probably not. He is probably going to call the things that the kids are most comfortable with.
Right.
But nonetheless, you still got to go out there. You still got to go execute. Man coverage is man coverage. You still got to execute the technique and all those different things. And so it's just, you just don't like to see that drop off, man. And so, the run fits and different things like that. There was just a lot of nitpicky things that you can really point to in that final drive that I guarantee you Coach Patricia, Coach Jay, and all the rest of the defensive coaches are really going to sit down with that second unit and be like, listen, you want to play more? You've got to clean this up. Like, you have to do this. Your steps have to be here. You've got to take on this block with this shoulder. All these different little things that you have to make sure you're doing. You can't have the cheap penalties. You've got to play cleaner. You can't have the pass interference. There's no need for you to grab right there, Devin Sanchez. Like, you're already an elite athlete. There's no need for you to do that, right? Those are things that they have to really work on. But for the most part, man, like, there will be a tiny bit of a change in the call sheet, but they've got to know everything that the first group knows.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So I think that kind of sums up everything Purdue. Just a little recruiting, some crumbs, as we say, because we are going to bring you before the battle this week. I know we've hinted that we were going to do that the last couple, but there's so much stuff going on. Like, I don't want to miss anything. As I'm sitting here making the list for that episode, like, it's a lot to really digest. UCLA is shaping up to be a massive recruiting weekend. And right now, Ohio State is just on a roll. So last time we were here, we recorded on Thursday night. You guys saw it on Friday and Saturday. We had flipped Jay Timmons from Florida State. Friday, we get word. A guy we talked about it just a little bit back during the summer that may be a late offer. Became a late offer. Mason Wilhelm, Lakewood St. Ed's, son of national champion linebacker Matt Wilhelm. And I think he works out with LaCharles.
Yeah, yes.
So he was committed to UNC, got offered Thursday night with the decommitment of Aaron Thomas, who committed to Minnesota. So now you have an opening for that project / late bloomer, however you want to word it. You go to Mason Wilhelm. We'll dive into him a little more when we do that. But biggest thing I took away, I wrote down one bullet point for each of these guys, is he's not going to wow you with athleticism.
Yeah. I think anytime you can get a legacy guy, let's do it. Right? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I'm all for it. This kid has wanted to be a Buckeye. He got that offer and he immediately flipped. Like,
Boom.
He didn't waste any time. He got that offer, decommitted, put the tweet out, didn't say, I'm reopening my commitment, nothing. It is.
They were in the same tweet. The decommitment was in the tweet with the commitment.
And so this is a guy who's been working for that. And so, you're going to get his best the second he gets on campus, man. So is he 2 or 3 years away from playing? Probably. But man, just like Jake Cook, those are the type of guys in Ohio that you will take a chance on. And I'm excited for those kind of kids. And, he has that potential to play center and guard, and he could just do a lot of things, man. And so the more Ohio kids we can get, the better, man. I'll take all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously coming from St. Ed's, he's been around successful football. So that was Friday. Saturday we play a game. Sunday, 4-star defensive tackle and former Colorado commit. This one wasn't really a flip because he decommitted early last week. Emmanuel Ruffin, a guy we talked about when he took his official visit. 6'4", 295, Bessemer, Alabama. This dude does not move like he's 290 pounds.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't, man. And he is, yeah, he moves like a defensive end. Like, he can run. He's got quick hands. He can just do all the things that you would not expect somebody at 290 pounds to be able to do. And so once he gets into a college weight room and puts on that weight, it's only going to get better. When you talk about that size and that quickness and being over 300 pounds, very similar to what Edric Houston, did when he put on that weight. Right. And so I'm excited about this kid. I think, we talked about some different people potentially being added or not being in the class, but I think this defensive tackle class is really shaping up to be very, very solid. And I think this kid is going to be a stud for us because he has got the potential, the quickness to just be, a very versatile player for us as a 3 technique. Man, he can really play.
And then today, Urban Meyer would say Percy Harvin 2.0.
Yeah.
But I'm going to look at it differently. I'm going to go Curtis Samuel 2.0.
Okay.
Forney, Texas. We'll call him an athlete right now. Legend Bay. 4-star. Flips from Tennessee. Kind of, now obviously, Bogpen Miller is a project at wide receiver. But the athleticism was there, but he played quarterback all through high school because that's what his team needed. Legend Bay plays quarterback in high school. He's essentially running the Wildcat, though. His junior season, he completed 50% of his passes, 1,444 yards, 13 touchdowns, 8 picks.
Yeah.
While rushing for 1,912 yards and 28 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Urban Meyer always talks that there's fast and there's fast.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to put Legend Bay in the fast AF class because this dude runs a 4.33 40.
Yeah.
And like a 10.200.
Yeah. Yeah, with the name Legend, you gotta be a dog. You gotta be good. But yeah, I just encourage everybody to go watch his highlights. I mean, there's really nothing else to say. Like the kid he's really, really good. Right? You know, like you said, Urban would compare him to Percy, you compare him to Curtis Samuel. You know, I had an opportunity when I was in high school to go down to Virginia Beach, and spent, some time with some family down there, and my cousin played in the same league as Percy Harvin, and I got to sit there and watch Percy Harvin in the 7-on-7, and Percy Harvin took a step back screen, 80 yards to the house, untouched, and he ran by everybody. And he's the fastest human being I've ever seen in my entire life. Like it was sickening. Like it was not normal speed. Like it was just like, that guy's going to go to the NFL and he's going to make millions of dollars. And we were juniors in high school. That's what I see when I watch Legend run the ball. Like nobody's going to stop him. Nobody's going to touch him. Nobody can get close to him. Like this kid has a second gear that I think is very vital to our offense that will be utilized very early in his career. And so I think this is Curtis Samuel is a very good comparison in my opinion.
So I know a lot of people that listen, are more familiar with Ohio State than anything. So I always try to find like Buckeye references. And as far as just the sheer breakaway speed that you see on his highlights, reminds me of two players. And obviously one of them, it's almost sacrilegious to compare him to Ted Ginn because Ted Ginn was literally world-class speed.
Yeah.
But the other, as far as breakaway speeds, Paris Campbell.
Yeah.
I don't think we have seen guys who can literally just hit that jet and go like those two. This kid, man, Steve Wilfong calls him the most explosive player in the state of Texas. And he's playing in the highest level of high school football in Texas.
That's a big deal.
It is pretty high praise. And obviously we are Buckeye centered, but we also like to give props where props are due, especially to high school football players. So RJ Day, 482 yards on Friday night.
Yeah.
Defeating a team you're very familiar with, the Ashland Arrows. With 5 seconds left, there's a touchdown in the end zone. And I would have loved to have seen the receiver get props on You Got Mossed because that DB was not taking the ball away from him. Wild, man. Ohio high school football, there's nothing like it. Should have some really good games this week, that's for sure.
Yeah,
This is really the week the playoffs start. I mean, let's be honest. We saw a few 1 seeds go down. But I love it. So yeah, as far as what the rest of the week will hold for us, for you guys, we will knock out some recruiting chips because I'm not so sure that I don't think we'll get any more news this week. I think there's more news on the horizon toward the back end of the week. Hayes Fawcett, who would know, has said that Ohio State is going to have more coming, 26 and 27. I think I have an incline who 27 is, but we'll see. And then obviously we'll do a Before the Battle UCLA edition. A game that's a little more appealing than it was a month ago. But we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a lot like this week as far as, you're going to see Ohio State continue to work on things. We don't have a time for Rutgers yet. We got 6-day held, which sucks because I really, as much as I hate the noon games, I always want the week before the game to be at noon.
Yeah.
Get in the mode, get in the headspace. But with that, we will see you guys later on this week twice.